It's a career readiness training. The purpose is to assist the manufacturers with the onboarding process. We find that a lot of times onboarding means getting the HR paperwork done and maybe putting them with somebody on the shop floor, and it's watch what they do and then be able to duplicate that within a day or so. So we wanted to find a way that we could assist with the onboarding process and make it a little bit more extensive and provide some new training. So the goal and the purpose is to provide basic skills to the new employees, which they typically don't always get, right? So we want to create a foundation of learning for the new employees so that they want to stay with you and learn more. So it's really just a starting piece to kind of kick that off for you, that you're providing this as an employer. There is no cost through the program to the employers, but it kind of sets some good foundational learning for the newer employees. So it's an extension of the onboarding process. And how this is going to work is it's going to be a series of 4 weekly 90-minute virtual sessions. So everything will be done on Zoom. There's going to be 4 sessions. Again, there's no cost. It's going to be a rolling monthly schedule. So we're set up to start in August, the first week in August. There is and I didn't put it in the slide and I apologize, but there is a calendar with all of the classes out there that I'm sure we can get to you if you don't have that. Some of you have probably seen that already, and it's going to last for 6 months. The employees can be enrolled at any point in the schedule. So we purposely made this rolling, knowing, people are coming in and out, and, we want to catch them as they come in. But let's say a company doesn't find out until September that this program even exists. It's not too late, right? So the topics are going to be Manufacturing 101, Communication and Conflict, Problem Solving and Critical Thinking, and Goal Setting. So each of the 6 months, each week, those programs will be offered. So let's say the first week in August, they for some reason they can't get to Manufacturing 101, but they can take the next week at Communication and Conflict. That's okay. They can pick up Manufacturing 101 the next month. We do have a registration process online. We do need to obviously know who's going to be there, keep our head counts in play. These sessions are going to be interactive, so knowing the counts and having that ahead of time is going to be important. But we thought it was important to keep it rolling so that somebody doesn't have to wait until the next month to start, or if they have to miss a class, they can't not complete the program. They can pick it up in another month. So then I have just an outline of each of the courses, which you may not have seen yet. So Manufacturing 101 is going to consist of the importance of manufacturing. We're going to cover some different types of manufacturing. We're going to go over some terminology, manufacturing terminology, just to give them the basics. We'll do an intro to lean and the 8 wastes. We'll go over why quality is so important. We'll talk a little bit about ISO certifications. I have an exercise built in there for the companies that are ISO certified and those that aren't, so it applies to everybody. We'll talk about the big picture and understanding the flow of all of the departments in the company and all the pieces of the process of that particular the manufacturers that are in the class at that time. So that'll vary a little bit each month. And then finally building a career in manufacturing and talking to people about the career paths and the fact that where you start does not necessarily mean that's where you're going to finish. So it's a lot of content in 90 minutes, but the purpose is really to, again, build that foundation, give them some highlights and really kind of immerse them in manufacturing verbiage and language and why some of those things are so important. The communication and conflict is going to include basic communication skills. We'll definitely cover listening, body language, written communications. We'll get some dealing with different personalities in there and how to manage that. We'll also talk about how to effectively deal with conflict, something obviously we hear a lot and people struggle with. They'll learn that conflict is not a bad word. Sometimes conflict can be good, and how to deal with some of those difficult conversations, whether it's with a coworker or whether if it's with a manager or a leader. Next up will be problem solving and critical thinking. Excuse me. We'll talk a little bit about the mindset, why we think like we do, our attitudes, where they come from. We'll talk about perception and how we perceive things differently and how we can really work to see other people's points of view for communication. And then we'll also go into some techniques in this class for problem solving. We'll touch on root cause, we'll touch on the 5 whys, and we'll also touch on a 4-step model to help them think and approach problems a little bit differently. And then lastly, in goal setting, we're going to do some exercises on where to start, how to engage your imagination if you're really just showing up to work for a paycheck. What do you want to do with that paycheck? We'll get into that. We'll talk about personal and professional goals, how they intersect, why they don't have to be separate. We'll go over SMART goals, talk about it's more than a paycheck, finding the why, and really helping people, and I believe very strongly in this, in helping people find a purpose. One of my favorite things to do when I go into manufacture is figure out the end use for what they're making. There are some shops that don't know that and can't know that, but for the most part, we can figure out why it's important and connect that to those personal goals. And then we'll wrap that session up with an exercise where they can write their goals down, create a picture for it, and set an action plan to take the first steps. There will be a certificate for individuals that complete all 4 of the sessions. Again, they don't have to be consecutive. We will track all of that. There will also be participant and company evaluations. So we will have the sessions, built in the session, some polls and some things that we're able to gather some information from the employees as they're doing it, but then we'll also be sending out some questionnaires to the companies.